Our scripture lesson today is from James, 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 17. My brothers and sisters, do you with your acts of favoritism really believe in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ? For if a person with gold rings and fine clothes comes into your assembly, and if a poor person in dirty clothes also comes in, and if you take notice of the one wearing the fine clothes and say, "Have a seat here, please," while the one who is poor you say, "Stand there," or "Sit at my feet," have you not made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brothers and sisters. Has not God chosen and the poor in the world to be rich in faith and to be heirs to the kingdom that he has promised to those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor. Is it not the rich who oppress you? Is it not they who drag you into court? Is it not they who blaspheme the excellent name that was invoked over you? You do well if you really fulfill the royal law, according to the scripture. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you show partiality, you commit sin and are convicted by the law as transgressors. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become accountable for all of it. For the one who said, "You shall not commit adultery," also said, "You shall not murder." Now, if you do not commit adultery, but if you murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. So speak and so act as those who are to be judged by the law of liberty. For judgment will be without mercy to anyone who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but you do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill," and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So remember, faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
We pray. Dear God, the one who is truth, we come to you seeking to hear your voice. I pray the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts will be acceptable to you, our God, our rock, and our Redeemer. Amen. So, this is kind of a combination traditional sermon and what we usually call our children's moment. And there's a reason for that, and I hope you find it. I will be as clear as I can be, and I hope you dig a little deeper. But I want to set up what we're going to do here, and that's to begin with the theology, the biblical interpretation, if you will. So James is very stern here. The tone of this letter is unnerving. I actually borderline would call it rude. James needs to learn a little tact and compassion, personally. Anyway, but James is very serious here, and so he's very stern for a reason. And his whole point is that there are pretty much kind of what I would tease out to be about three, maybe a few more, but three key elements to what it means to be Christian, to what it means to be a Christian community. And the essence, the core of it all, is a phrase we've heard all too often: love thy neighbor as thyself. And it goes and it builds on to the idea, something I think long-term bumper sticker: mercy triumphs over judgment. So mercy, love, and his greatest example is partiality. Prejudice is probably a better word for us nowadays. But just showing any sort of what he calls favoritism. And so this idea, and James is very clear about the importance and the heart of this call. Because love thy neighbor, this passage, love thy neighbor as thyself, is actually, it's not only a reference to something Jesus said and that we've probably heard Jesus say multiple times in some way, shape, or form. It's a reference to Leviticus 19:8, which I know you all read regularly. But not only is this passage a reference to Leviticus 19:8, that one verse, and Todd's looking up into Leviticus 19:8 right now, and so he will call me out when it's actually Leviticus 19:18, I think. Either way, read the whole chapter of Leviticus 19 until it's time. The point is everything in this passage is actually a reference to the law of God, to Torah, to the original call of the community and what it was supposed to do. And for us, I think even now, you hear, I don't know about you, you hear love thy neighbor as thyself, and you kind of go back to Woodstock, maybe, a little bit, and like peace, love, flowers everywhere, somebody's trying to be a bee bug, I don't know. But James wants to get past that, and he does it really well. He's going to get past this vague, idealistic notion of love. It's not some ideal utopia we're going after that's failed miserably multiple times by people in tie-dye. That's not what he's going for. What he's going for is an actual way of life that can be done day in and day out. And there's a reason, though, at the essence of this call is the call to mercy. Because in that passage, what James says, hey, this is a high standard we're asking for ourselves, but give yourself mercy. But you can only give yourself mercy if you give others mercy. So while the way of life is challenging, and while the way of love is difficult and requires day-in reflection and practice, it also requires mercy and grace. And it comes if we give it to others. And the concrete example that the way James immediately takes this vague idealistic notion and makes it real, is with the strict, stern example of rich and poor. An example we can all relate to. We all know the difference of looking at somebody who's dressed a certain way. We have all kinds of phrases in our culture, such as dress for success. And that's the example James uses. And James says, do not do this. Do not approach people who are dressed differently, who look as if they might have more success in a different manner. You must address everyone with equanimity. And world-renowned New Testament scholar Luke Timothy Johnson points out that for us in our era, this is an easy translation to all of our differences. And our differences are rampant. It's abundantly clear. Our differences of race, our differences around gender, our differences around sexuality, our differences around economics, our differences around ethnicities, our differences around language, our differences around citizenship, our differences around nationality, our differences around political. I mean, seriously, you know those moments when you go, oh my gosh, is that person a Republican? I mean, a Democrat? You know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's an internal confession, right? I confess too. I'm not a saint up here. I'm a sinner confessing, and we're joining the journey together. James says we have to do everything we can to resist that temptation to engage others differently. And we have to engage them the same. And today, our church has done this for over 125 years. We had a female preacher when women were still fighting for the right to vote. So, one of our greatest celebrations that happens every year, and that is as important to us as any other day in the liturgical calendar, is our celebration of Black history and our history of racial inclusion. We have done great work to love thy neighbor as thyself and to live out showing no favoritism, no partiality. And one of the greatest ways we can also continue to celebrate this, and one of the ways we continue to seek to live that out, to reclaim this call, to rediscover, is part of this is in our mission and vision, is to be able to articulate not only how we've done it, not only how we continue to do it, but also to reclaim and rediscover how we're called by God now to continue to do it, how we're called to adapt. Because some of the language has changed, some of the ways of being have changed, and we figure out who our core is and why we do that and how we do it. And today we have a prime example of doing that, and I'm going to use our kids. But this morning we were going to celebrate in the next stage and for the rest of our worship service, and as we do every day and every moment of our lives, we're going to celebrate our multi-generational work. And it's not easy work, because every age group has judgments about other age groups. I get bored really with the amount of back and forth. Millennials have no aspirations. I don't know. I can't really say what millennials say about older people. It's not funny. Please forgive them. Again, mercy triumphs over judgment. So this morning we're going to do a little exercise. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to build something together. And that is going to symbolize our Christian call to not only love in an ideal, but to love in reality. And Chris, if you want to move that over there, yeah, that would be great. So we'll explain it in a little bit, but I'm going to transition now and invite our kids forward. The kids are going to help us. Jesus told us to follow the children into the future, so we're going to see how that works out. So if our children can come forward and help. Hey, nice bow tie. Welcome. You guys ready? Legos. Who loves Legos? What do you guys do with Legos? Chris loves Legos too. Bill, they built these guys. There's so many. You guys got the memo. Thanks. You know, God really is good at sending emails. I'll tell you what. I said, God, could you bring me a lot of kids? I need a lot of help. And God said, yes. So welcome. Hi. Everybody. So we're going to build something. Do you know that communities are meant to build things together? Did you know that building something together is a way to love others? Do you ever build projects with people? Do you ever draw something together? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to build something together as a church, right? I need your help, right? So I want you guys to help me pass out the Legos. But I'm going to have a little question for you. You're going to help us. You're going to help me. You're going to help all the adults here. We're going to decide who gets a Lego. Okay? Who do you think should get a Lego? Do you think the tall people should get Legos? What about the not as tall people? Yeah? Okay. What about all the people who... So this box actually says 4 to 99. Said it somewhere. Oh, there it is. 4 to 99. You think people under 4 should be given one? Probably under supervision. Let's do that. How's that? Maybe give it to a parent or someone. So we're going to break the Lego rules, right? Okay. What about people over 99? One, did you know that we have people in our church who are over 99? And they're awesome, and they exercise all the time, and it's quite phenomenal. Should we give them Legos? Okay. Who else? What about people with red hair? Okay, what about people with brown hair? People with blue eyes? Should we just give one to everyone? Why should we give one to everyone? Because everybody's got gifts and can give to us, right? And we're all children of God, right? We're all the same. All right, let's do it. Okay. So we got some adults on the outside helping watch you guys. It's up to you. Make sure everybody gets a Lego, because everybody's got to help us with this, okay?
Don't forget there's Lego eyes in there.
I don't think there are Lego eyes in here.
But there's a cow on there. There's a cow.
Here you go. I'm going to give everybody a little handful, and then you just go out there and you distribute the building blocks. Okay? Can you give me 2 hands? How many people? Okay. And so hold on to your Lego once you get it from a child. Make sure you get the choir. Maybe Curtis is not. Maybe Curtis. Hey, he wants to see that. Help this one. Oh, Aaron's a small guy. Okay. You can help that guy. But at the end of service, you'll see a green platform, a green Lego platform, and as you leave, one of your offerings today will be to place that Lego. Don't worry about how it looks. Love is messy. It's kind of funky, right? You all know. So we're just going to build something together and see what it looks like. Go. Once you have your Legos, you may go into the people. Make sure you don't forget the choir here. Awesome.